The sun will come out tomorrow. Bet your bottom dollar that tomorrow there'll be sun. Just thinking about tomorrow clears away the cobwebs and the sorrow till there's none. Hi, Lisa. Andrea. When I'm stuck with a day that's gray. So that's what we're going to talk about is tomorrow and how we can use the medicines for today that we take today, that we can count on them acting tomorrow. It's great stuff. Hi, Petra, pretty name. Anja, another pretty name. Very nice. Hi, everyone. Where are you from? Joette Calabrese here doing Facebook Live every Monday night Eastern Standard Time. I haven't missed, well, we missed some in the beginning, right? We'd started this about a year ago, and then we moved, and we didn't have enough bandwidth to be able to commit to it. Once we got that, and we started up again, that's it. I'm in. Yes, that's what I say too. I'm here every Monday night Eastern Standard Time at 8 o'clock. So I hope that you learn a lot. Thank you for saying my singing is lovely. You know, I didn't do it last week because my son said it was cringeworthy, and so then I decided, and everyone else said, no, sing. So it just fills in the space. We can't. I have to do something, and so I don't want to start talking and teaching. So I thought, we'll just stay with the songs. So, all right, tonight we are going to talk about. We're going to go to the Materia Medica. We are in the C's, ladies, and some gents, mostly ladies. And we're going to be talking about prone to colds, sore throats, sinus infections, and such. So this medicine that I'm going to be talking about tonight is so vast. There's so much information on it. It has such a vast value that what I teach you tonight, excuse me, is going to be a fraction of its ability and its uses. But in using it this method, which is using it as a protocol, specifically for immunity problems, then it becomes a lot easier. I urge you always, when you finish watching me on these evenings, on these Monday nights, excuse me, that you go to, if you have a Materia Medica, then you read up on it. If you have my Materia Medica, it will just reinforce what I've taught you. I don't read it verbatim. If you have no Materia Medicas, think about purchasing one. And also you can use Dr. James Tyler Kent's. I tell you that all the time because it really is very important for you to know, for you to know that there are indeed Materia Medicas that are available for free online. Now, Dr. James Tyler Kent was a homeopath in Chicago. He was classical. His methods are different, but the Materia Medica is the same. And what I mean by his methods are different is that he generally used very high potencies. He often used 1Ms and 10Ms, and I don't use those very often unless absolutely necessary. I like to use 6s, 30s, 200s, and 1Ms. So I kind of stay, and the 1M is kind of, off to the background a bit. Mostly on a day-to-day basis, I use 3s, 6s, 30s, and 200s. So it's a little different, but the information on choosing the medicine is very similar, and learning about the medicine is very similar. So the medicine we're going to talk about tonight is Calcarea carbonica, C-A-L-C-A-R-E-A, Calcarea carbonica, C-A-R-B-O-N-I-C-A, Calc Carb for short. Calcarea carbonicum. It's actually made from the inside of an oyster shell. Kind of interesting. It's a great medicine for children, but only if they need it. So I'm going to start reading from my Materia Medica so that you get an idea of where I'm going with this. And then I'm going to caution you to when to use this and when not to use this, okay? So as I said, it's a sweeping medicine. that what I write here, what I tell you tonight, will do it absolutely no justice that it deserves. So this remedy is to be thought of when a person is prone, and that verb is important, prone to frequent colds and coughs and sinus infections, ear infections, etc. So there's an immunity problem. So it's, and it's also for allergies, which also have a lot to do with, of course, immunity. So in other words, whenever the immune system is compromised, it should be noted, it is often a slow-acting remedy, which is why I started singing tonight the song Tomorrow, because you take it today, you're not going to see a change in a day or even a few days or even a week. This is going to take time, generally speaking. Once in a while, we get a medicine, even a slow-acting medicine such as this one, and bam! It's working in a few days, and we love that. So don't assume that it's not that medicine if that's what happens. It should be noted as often slow-acting remedy and requires many months of treatment using this medicine. It is a principal choice for weight gain in certain people who fit the remedy description. So there was a little discussion on, I think it was on my Facebook pages is my guess, that some women were saying that they were taking Calcarea carbonicum and they were gaining weight. And that is absolutely, can easily happen. Why can that happen? Can anyone tell me why that would happen? I'm going to give you some hints now, but it's kind of interesting why this would happen. If you're taking a medicine, a homeopathic medicine, and it starts showing it's proving, then that means you need to stop. But see if you can tell me why you think that happened to these women who were proving it. So the most common symptoms that call for calcarb are related to the use of calcium in the body. And of course, calcium is extremely important. And a lot of people don't get enough calcium, or they're getting enough, but they're not absorbing it properly. And how can that happen? Well, many times after taking antibiotics, one time, perhaps many times, the gut is no longer absorbing and utilizing the nutrients properly. So in spite of the fact the person's eating really high quality yogurt or kefir or bone stock, etc., they're still not absorbing their calcium properly. So the answer in the conventional medical world, of course, is to just take calcium. But I am not a proponent of taking vitamins or minerals. I don't mind you eating something that has those in it. But if you want nutrients, vitamins, minerals, you should be eating the food that it comes naturally in. Because if we were to take calcium in our orange juice, for example, which just slays me every time I see that contains calcium, they've added calcium in it. And you don't need the calcium, or you need the calcium, but you're not absorbing it. That is more often the problem. You're not absorbing the calcium properly. Then there's too much calcium. Now the body's saying, well, wait a minute, I've got calcium from the yogurt, I get calcium from the bone stock, I'm getting calcium from this good cheese that I eat. And the body's saying, and now you're giving me all of this calcium on top of that. I don't know what to do with it. And so that's when the body starts setting up places for the body to release the calcium, and that causes little stone deposits, and sometimes there are bone deposits, and we see growths, not tumorous growths, but growths on the bones, or we see little calcium deposits in soft tissue such as the breasts, or in soft tissue such as the kidneys. So we want to stay away from taking calcium. We want to make sure that we're utilizing these methods of uprooting the chronic gut condition, and then we use Calcarea carbonicum. Now, let me see that difficulty absorbing or utilizing dairy. I wanted to talk about that. It's great for people with dental problems, for chronic tooth decay, poor development of the teeth or bones. That's why we like it for children especially. Scoliosis, bunions, or inflamed joints. Pica, or cravings for inedible things such as chalk or things like crayons. Cravings for eggs, but aversion to meat, fat, liquid, dairy, all fit within this calcar picture. So What often happens, let's see if anyone's come up with the answer. Let's see, they were proving it, that's right. So if you don't need, that's exactly what happens, they're proving it. Maybe they needed to gain some weight, well, that's certainly a possibility, but these are people who are saying, no, I'm about 10 pounds overweight. They were absorbing calories better, that's certainly a possibility too. This is where I think it's coming from. They were proving Calcarea carbonicum, and that is because people misunderstand when I say this is for immunity. You see, we've all been schooled in the idea that, well, winter's coming. I don't want to get a flu, so I think I'll just take some vitamin C. Homeopathy is not like that. We don't take it, perhaps, maybe might need it. We take it because there's a pathology, generally speaking. Are there exceptions to that rule? Yes. But let's talk about the non-exceptions. Let's not talk about the outlying situations. So what was happening in my estimation, because I've actually had some of the people who complained that they gained weight actually eventually became clients of mine. And I asked them if they were part of the Facebook discussion. And 2 of them told me that they were. And so it really made it clear to me, even though I pretty much guessed it, that what was happening was they were looking at as well, yeah, I don't want to get colds and flus, and I do get a cold in the winter. No, that's not an immunity problem. Getting a cold in the winter does not mean that you have a immunity problem. Getting a cold every month, all winter long, and then also in the summer, that is an immunity problem. Allergies are an immunity problem. Not a little sniffling, but allergies that are really sobering kinds of allergies. So we want this medicine to not just fit a little bit, we want it to be an absolute tight fit. We want it to be a snug fit. So it has to be a situation where there really is an immunity problem. Now, let's talk about children for a minute, because a lot of people don't realize that children are supposed to get illnesses. Childhood illness. They're supposed to get colds, they're supposed to get sore throats, they're supposed to get ear infections, they're supposed to get measles. I'm sorry, they're supposed to get measles. That's why there's so many all over the country right now. Children are supposed to get measles, because if they don't, then they end up with them as an adult, and then they can get really sick. Like that woman in, where was it, Ireland, I think it was? No, Israel. A woman just died from encephalitis after having getting measles. That's what we want to avoid. We want these childhood illnesses. We want chicken pox. Now, we don't want a child who is sick every month or chronically sick all winter. That's different. Now we're looking at that tipping point. We're looking at a point where someone would say something is wrong with this child. Way too many colds, way too many infections. Pardon me?
Flight attendant.
Yeah, it was a flight attendant from Israel. And so that's it. So this is a good medicine for those times for children who are getting sick all the time, not for children who get sick every winter, unless they get sick during that winter and they stay sick almost all winter. They get a little better. They're just able to get back to their studies. They're just starting to feel a little bit better, and bam, they get hit again. Then they're okay. They're getting through it. They're just getting through it. Okay, then they get hit, bam, again. That's an immunity problem. That can often be a call for Calcarea carbonicum. Generally, for an immunity problem, we talk about Calcarea carbonicum in a 30th potency when it comes to children, and we usually use it once a day. This is a Banerjee protocol. Sometimes when it's allergies, we might use it less frequently. I won't go into the allergic situation because that is kind of another situation that if you have allergies and you're really suffering, if you have mild allergies, that's one thing. But if you're suffering terribly from allergies, you really should look into my course called Allergic. Okay. Let's see. Allergic reactions, chemical sensitivities. It's one of the best medicines for chemical sensitivities. And in that case, we only take it once a week, generally speaking. So we're not talking about just a little, oh, I don't like the smell of perfume. No, it's from someone, we're describing someone who can't walk down the grocery aisle or can't even go into a grocery aisle where there are soaps. I mean, they can't walk down. Not that they walk down and don't like it. They can't walk down. They get asthma from it. They get sinus pain from it. They get quite sick from being exposed. they buy clothes and the tiniest little odor will send them to pathology. That's what we're talking about, chemical sensitivities. Someone who can't be outside when the neighbor's washing their laundry, they can't be out at all, because even the tiniest smell of a fragrance soap that the neighbor might be using could cause trouble. I actually used to be like that years ago. What, do we have a message? No? Okay. All righty. So I've personally taken this medicine in a 200 potency. It has helped me a lot. I don't need it any longer. It's one of the medicines that I've used in the past for allergies. My first one, as you may know, because I've written about it and talked about it so many times, my first medicine was Nux vomica, which helped with so many of my conditions. But Calcarea carbonicum pretty much finished it off for me and really cleaned it up. What about chronic yeast infections that are rather mild but literally occur every month? I would not consider that. No, that's not what I would look at. This is more for getting infections such as bacteria or viral infections, even though I know that yeast is there's Buster. Yeast is not necessarily part of this picture. Is being sick too long but not every month count? Yes, same idea. If someone is sick too long. Now, if they get sick for a long period of time, and it was last winter, and so far nothing's happened, and in the past it's not been a problem, I still wouldn't use it. We don't want to use any of these medicines superfluously, because the active word here is medicine. And they can prove, just as shown with what happened with the women who were taking this medicine thinking, yeah, I don't like my immunity. It's not about not liking it. It's about a true pathology. This is the way to think of this, folks. We are very, very privileged to live in the world in which we live, in the United States, North America. Some of you are from Europe, South America. But the Banerjee protocols are based on a society in which there is a strong emerging middle class and upper middle class, but there is still a very, very heavy lower class. There's a lot of poverty. And so when they see cases, they're not seeing cases where, more often than not, they're often seeing cases where the folks who they're coming to are sick. And if a middle class, an educated upper middle class person comes into the office, and they certainly did, we saw plenty of them, but not to the same degree as those who were suffering more deeply because of poverty as well. And they said, you know, I don't want to get colds. The Banerjees would say, did you look out in that waiting room? Don't think that way. It's not about not wanting to get colds. It's about having a pathology. Okay, if all the older siblings are having immunity issues, would you start the 8-month-old breastfed baby on Calcarb or wait to see if he needs it? I love that question. Thank you, Rachel, for asking that. No, I would not. Not unless I saw something with that 8-month-old that indicated to me that there's a pathology that needs to be treated. I would wait. For UTIs, generally, it's not the medicine I use for UTIs, even though it's an immunity condition. It's more respiratory. Sinuses, ears, nose, throat, lungs. This area, all in here. Okay. Chronic swollen tonsils, not responding to Burita carbonicum 3 times a day for 3 weeks. Could this be a remedy that may work instead? It may. It may work instead. It may indeed be helpful. But remember, swollen tonsils is not just Burita carbonicum. That's just one of the medicines. We have Hepar sulf. We have phytolacca. We have tuberculinum. So that medicine, if you're interested, I've put together a very powerful class, I believe, called the Alternative to Antibiotics. And I touch on that. I don't touch on it. I really teach that. And also the urinary tract infection question would also be much answered should you be interested in my course called Alternative to Antibiotics. And in that particular course, I spent a lot of time on urinary tract infections because they're so prevalent. Okay, what about a transplant patient who has low immunity due to anti-rejection drugs? I'm afraid I don't know if I want to answer that because I don't know enough about the person. I'd have to know. they have low immunity, meaning they're catching everything, or they're told they have low immunity and they might. It could be. It's certainly possible. Tonsillitis in a 9-year-old, repetitive tonsillitis, not just tonsillitis, repetitive. All right. We have tried HEAP ourselves, but that's it. Okay. Phytolacca, I mentioned also. Let's see what other questions are coming in. What about non-fragrant commercials that bring on an immediate nausea? Oh, chemicals. Non-fragrant chemicals that bring on nausea, yes. It's the underpinnings. We're going to use another medicine that is used specifically for nausea. If somebody's got a sore throat, we're going to use Calcarea, a frequent repetition of sore throats. We're going to use Calcarea carbonicum as the underpinnings, and we're going to use something else for that nausea. We're going to use something else for that sore throat. We're going to use something as the acute, as it's happening now. Because remember what I said in the beginning is this is long-term. This is to uproot the basic problem of the immunity not presenting properly or not holding up properly. In addition to that, we're going to use whatever's presenting now. The medicine for the ear infection, the medicine for the conjunctivitis, chronic conjunctivitis. We're going to use this medicine for the tonsillitis. Meanwhile, calcarb, and it's holding and it's carrying the load. It's carrying actually the heavy weight. All righty, what else do we have? Would this help a person who is getting transfusions to boost immunity? If the transfusions are being used to boost immunity because the person has a problem with immunity, as evidenced by the kind of illnesses that they are having, such as the infections that I've mentioned, then yes. If none of that has shown up, then I would not use it. Okie doke, let's see. Tonsils, well, the older siblings, non-fragrance. What about chronic yeast? We talked about that. We want it acquired naturally, not a shot. It's your decision, folks. Whatever, if you decide that you want to use vaccines for yourself or your children, just do your homework. That's all I say. Don't expect the doctor to give it to you. Find alternative information on vaccines and read up on it, and then make your decision. Cold sores, I'd want to see more than just cold sores to use Calcarea carbonicum. And I would not use it for the cold sore. I would use the cold sores as an indication, perhaps, that Calcarea carbonicum might be needed. But I have written about cold sores on my blog, so check it out and use the medicines that I talk about. I've talked about a couple different ones. There's more than one medicine for cold sores, for herpetic oral eruptions. Okay, would this also include autoimmune issues? I would not use it for autoimmune issues, except for allergies. That's considered autoimmune, I suppose. No, I would not use it for Hashimoto's. I would not use it for rheumatoid arthritis. No, I would not do that. No, we're talking about a specific kind of immunity problem that's either allergies or sinus issues. Okay? Would throat and lungs have to be severe to fit this? No. Or how about if it's just chronic postnasal drip and chronic throat phlegm, but not real sick? They don't have to be real sick. It's possible that this could be a medicine for that person who has chronic mucus in the throat, because that to me indicates the very strong possibility that these are allergies that are going on. Okay, son was seen at 8 and they determined calcarb for immunities and allergies. Fit like a glove. We used it for time and he did much better as an adult. Now he suffers colds every 6 to 8 weeks. How would we dose? In the same way. In the same here's the thing. When you find a medicine, the name of the medicine, the potency, and the frequency that has worked in the past, don't tinker with it. Stay with it. That's at least springboard from that. Okay, that's the way I would do that. All right. Repeated sphenoid sinus infections. Yes, it could be, but you're not using this for the sinus infection. You're using this for the immunity to uproot it. I think we've got a wrap. All righty, folks. Love hearing from you. What I'm going to ask you to do, if you don't mind, is when you've learned something from me on my blog, from my courses, I would love it if you would give me a little testimony. Other people need to know. Short, something like, I didn't know this would work. I learned this from the blog, or I learned this from this, or I learned this from that from Joette, and now I'm better, or my child is improved. So you can send it to contact@joettecalabrese.com. Contact@joettecalabrese.com. I would love to hear from you. I will read every one of them. They need to be short, 4 sentences, 3 sentences. And so if you're so inclined to help us out, to help others, then by all means. And basically what I'm asking you for is your permission. You don't need to use your real name. I just want a real testimony. You can use your real first name and a pseudo last name, but whatever you'd like to do, I'd greatly appreciate it. So with that, I say good night to all of you. Oh, good night to all of you, and God bless you all. Have a great night. Bye, folks.